And now moving a little bit to project development, I'm sure you're aware that the South African Renewable Energy Grid Survey was released now in June, and it basically outlined that a lot of the wind power production is going to be happening outside of the country's wind resource provinces, namely the Western Cape, the Eastern Cape, and the Northern Cape, and exponential growth is expected. So as an OEM, how do you see this impacting the wind industry?
Yeah, I think there's a number of ways it will impact. I think you can also link it to the previous discussion we just had on volumes, because the logic would be there's a whole new market where there's potential it should increase the volumes of procurement. I think the fundamental challenge is, let's ask, but why are we seeing volumes of wind projects outside of the Cape areas? The Cape areas are, really good resource areas for wind plants, and that's why we've naturally seen the development of wind farms in the Capes. Historically, the resource conditions further up north in the country has not been as ideal. So the shift has really been driven by the availability of grid capacity to connect plants. We know there's severe constraints in the Capes, so that's why a lot of the projects that have been developed in the Capes might struggle to secure grid connection. So that's naturally forced developers and IPPs to look outside of the Capes and consider less ideal resource areas like Mpumalanga. So it's really driven by the grid. Then just thinking about the opportunity outside of the Capes, which I think is fantastic, trying to unlock new areas, that does give more opportunity in the market. And this will also mean that from a technology perspective, the technology deployed in the Capes will slightly differ to that deployed in the northern parts of the country because of the lower wind resource. So you typically would have to deploy nacelles that have larger swept areas, so is more effective in low wind speeds. And to get to better wind speeds, you have to go up. You have to go higher. So that means taller towers as well. And there's plenty of European markets where taller towers are the norm. Because deploying in low wind resource areas. So the technology is available globally, and from a Nordex perspective, we've got technology that suits these low wind conditions. We've got tall towers already beyond the 120 meters that we typically see in the Cape regions. Mm-hmm. We've got quite an extensive technology suite that is able to deal with varying wind conditions and the availability of wind resource. So we have wind turbines with increased unitary power, larger blade swept areas, higher hub heights, so towers that are typically taller than the standard 100 or 120 meter hub heights we've seen in the Cape regions. In addition to that, we've standardized on the Nordex Delta platforms, so that's been quite a big step for Nordex to try and create a standardized platform which it will focus its processes, practices, technology, skills on, so that it delivers reliable products into the market. In addition to that, from a local perspective, we've sent our construction teams that had experience locally into markets like Australia to actually go and gain first-hand experience on constructing these new platforms. And there's a whole range of activities happening on the operations and maintenance side, where we're establishing a training center with rigs in our training center for the new technology to start preparing the technician workforce on the new Delta platform.